Okay, it is 6:32 p.m. We're going to begin with the invocation and the pledge. Gracious Father, we come before you asking for clarity and understanding in our meeting today. Remove any confusion or misunderstandings that may hinder our progress. Grant us the ability to communicate effectively and to comprehend one another's perspectives. As always, we pray especially for our first responders and military members at home and abroad. May they feel our respect and appreciation as they protect and serve us all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Akiko. And then women.
Okay, that brings us to item number 3 on the agenda, public comments. Cheyenne, do we have any public comments tonight?
Yes. Dan McDuncan.
Thank you, Council. I'm here tonight not to talk about zoning. I said enough about that already. And I think that the decisions have already been made, which I think are heartbreaking. Because this council represents the voices of 600 to 800 people, depending on which census we depend on. Every one of which depend on you to keep their needs in mind. My biggest problem is something I talked to Phil about probably a month ago, and that is the fact that the 2 economic development corporations are not keeping minutes. They're not posting minutes, and one of the board presidents wants to be our mayor. My biggest concern here is that, Mayor, it appears that you've trained these people on how to behave, and it appears that our city attorney backs you up. I've asked him, why aren't they online? He hasn't answered that.
You haven't asked me a single time.
I don't
so
have to.
You're incorrect.
That is not my job.
But go ahead and
Thanks for
comment.
your response, but Texas Open Meeting Act does not require me to tell you what to put on your website, although when
No,
I
it
see...
doesn't. But if you were a decent contributor, then you would.
So I'm an indecent contributor, but I'm contributing tonight.
Good.
And it shouldn't take a contributor to tell you that you have to honor the Open Meetings Act by placing everything online. The notices of these meetings I didn't receive. Maybe that's internal. I don't know when they were posted, but here's the other thing I don't know. I will never know what was said in the 2 meetings that happened on the 18th. I will never know what decisions were talked about, but I do know this, that you have so stacked this deck that your council members form a majority of this city council. Without keeping minutes and with our city attorney's apparent blessing, we now stand here at the precipice of adopting zoning when at least one council member was not invited to the party. He was intentionally excluded when he offered to help. And the problem that I have here is the transparency hasn't existed since I came and began to ask for it and demand it and beg it. We have better city council transparency because there's a camera right there. Because now we have this camera, and God bless you for doing that, because now the city has its own record of meetings, but does it have a record of the joint economic development meeting held on the 18th? All I can say is I have every minute posted from the website, and they are void for the last 2 years for economic development, for emergency management, and for both EDCs. And Phil tells me that although we've had minutes for the beautification committee, that's not necessary. Their meetings don't even have to be public. And I just say shame, because we deserve better, and whoever becomes our mayor needs to represent us in full compliance. And there's something called circumvention of the act. Phil, would you please advise them that when you intentionally work to circumvent the Open Meetings Act, you have violated the law. Thank you.
Cheyenne, do we have any other public comments?
Yes. Barbara Minton.
Hi, I'm back again about the junkyard. And mostly to ask Phil what he is able to do to move it. Vehicles hanging over the river.
So public comments need to address council.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that you said last time, at the last meeting, you were going to work on it and get back with us, so. Council, is there any other
I didn't
issues?
put it on the agenda, Barb, so we can't
You can't tell,
really
you can't tell.
deliver
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Another
But
month.
thanks for the reminder.
It's going to be 4
I appreciate
months now, next month.
Can I ask her a question? Mayor, can I ask her a question? Because that should be allowed, right? A question to clarify?
We can't deliberate or discuss
Not
when
just a
it's,
question.
you know what, go ahead.
That's okay. Did you contact the HOA? And you're
I
talking to the
did.
city, but all I'm asking you is,
Yes.
there's another authority there. and-
Yes.
No, you don't have to answer, I just asked if you contacted.
HOA, floodplain, Mark Vogler, Sean with the floodplain. Yeah, I contacted a bunch, yeah.
Thank you.
I can give you some follow-up, Barb,
Okay,
after, outside the meeting or tomorrow, then we can present
okay, thanks.
any reports.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Eamon O'Neill.
Hi, good evening, Eamon O'Neill, 77494-6603 New Grass Lane, Katy, Texas. Good evening. I arrived a little late tonight. The traffic in Fulshire is horrific as always.
Yes.
I am here to ask about the Simonton Pinch Points project. The Texas General Land Office and the Houston Galveston Area Council spent almost $26 million 2 years ago for this project. Have there been any news updates to this project? And if there is, can you please give notices to the citizens so that they are informed? Also, the Valley Lodge Trail Ride events at the weekend were awesome. I love the traditional rural lifestyle here. Please keep Simonton. Say no to any developments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Any further? Okay, thanks, everybody. Moving on to item 4, consent agenda. The consent agenda today includes the monthly payment listing report for December, the monthly financial statement for December, and meeting minutes from February 3rd. Council, do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, first I'd like to have items A and B removed for
All right,
discussion.
so we'll take them one at a time. Item A is the monthly payment listing report. Do you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. So if we turn to the monthly payment listing report, I'd like to make note that there are no credit card payments listed on that payment report. So those are payments that we have made. People should know that we have made payments via credit cards. Also, looking at the actual checks that were done, looks like we're doing very well paying our payrolls and everything to do with payrolls and our primary concerns. On the payment report, I made a comment last month that it just seems short and it doesn't seem to be complete. And I don't know if we're behind on payments or not, I can't really tell. But the credit card payments being missing is, I think, a big concern because the public does not know everything about the payments we're making. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Council, any further questions about payment report for December? All right, do we have a motion for item 4A, the monthly payment listing?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Kelly. All in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Item carries. Item B is the monthly financial statement for December 2025. Eric, you want to go first since I think you had a question?
Yes, ma'am. Unless someone else does before me, that's fine. We go to page 1. There are two figures here, which it says current month, which just seem to be high. I'm just going to mention that observation, not an accusation of incorrectness or anything else, but you have legal and professional of $11,286, and you have maintenance and repair of $27,215. The basic problem I have with this is that if we have a check register that you just gave me, and I have these payments made in December, I can't find them on the checks paid. So that's the first problem with that observation. If we can turn to page, it's page, General Fund, item 1004616 and 4618.
I'm sorry, what page are you on?
I guess it's the third page down. I'm looking for page, oh, sorry,
It's small.
page 4. Barely reading. Page 4. 146. Tech School, 14618. CDRs. Current month, we have no interest, no money coming to us, and I find that hard to believe. Matter of fact, it's not possible because Tech School pays, and CDRs monthly interest. And I've mentioned CDRs before and asked that we do get an interest report monthly and have it inputted into the fund.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just the same issue. We can turn to, let me see if I have anything else. Yes, one more item on page 14. Okay, page 14, public mowing. We have a current month actual of $26,435. Now, unless we made an annual payment this month, this cannot be, in my mind, correct at all. Just in my mind. And on EDC, 4A, page 18. Interest income, CDRs and other, 0. They have CDRs.
Right, that rolls up into the same topic you're talking about.
Yes, ma'am. Same topic, not getting that report. Okay. I have a couple other questions, but I'm going to pass on those and go. EDC 4A, page 24. Advertising and marketing. We don't have a breakdown of that. We might have had it in your budget, Justin, or whatever, but it's $3,000 annual budget, $400 current month. I do know how much is supposed to go towards that contract, right? It's 200, so it's 400 this month. And I don't know if that's a double payment. I don't know. Just looked at it and said, all right, we're going to keep that up. Just an observation. And we can move to item 27, on page 27, 4B, office and supplies.
Would you mind to hold for just 1 second?
Sure.
I want to look at what you just commented.
Okay. We're going back to what, Madam Mayor?
The advertising and marketing for 4A
Okay.
versus 4B. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. What did you say, page 20?
We're now going to go to page 27, which is EDC 4B. I'm sorry, I have to apologize. I am potentially getting an emergency call, so my phone's there. Item 7, office supplies. 50.
And again, on 4B, the same issue with the CDRs. They have CDRs also.
Do the CDRs, when they post it, like if you have a CD, usually it's the end of the month, so it wouldn't be in the same month. When does CDRs post their interest rate on the bonds?
We can pull it monthly. You manually can pull it monthly.
As the month goes on or till after? So if it was November, you'd know November 31st that you'd have interest, which would go in the December financials, right? And then we roll it back to the
You put it back to the month where it
No,
belongs.
okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure, man.
Mhm.
Page I'm not going to go there. That's on the grants page, but I'm going to skip that for now. The rest of the questions is CDRs, interest income, or they have their CDRs, it's the same question. All of those would be answered with taking the monthly statement and pulling the interest off, which may be an intensive process, but
I don't think it's that it's necessarily intensive, it's just more labor when we have no staff.
I
But
know.
we haven't. And when we do the quarterly financial update, it all gets populated in that, and then we can go backwards and fill it in. But again, it's a personnel and time issue.
Okay, so you brought up the quarterly financial, but I was going to talk about that request later in the council, if you don't mind. We don't have one for December.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So we talked about it, now it's okay. I would like to see.
I'm just saying, the data from
Right,
that report will be
right.
the same data that belongs here. And you're right, that the interest income should be in each month. We just
Yeah.
have not done it
Okay.
while we're not staffed up.
I totally
But the
understand.
goal is still for that to happen every month.
All right, so unless anyone else has any comments?
I just have a question for you. You're not, just want to make sure, you're not questioning why legal and professional is so high? Or you're not questioning the maintenance and repair, you're questioning what exactly that you don't see the check in the,
That was an observation that I don't see a check that would comply with that amount of money leaving us, right? And that might have been done on a credit card, an ACH, some other process that's not recorded here on our checks. The numbers do seem high, but I'm not asking for someone to come here or Stacy to come here and say, break it down for me this time. Does that help? Any other questions there? I'd like to make a motion that we table this report till next month, where we may be able to get the adjustments made so that the report is absolutely accurate for the public.
Okay, we have a motion to table item 4B, the monthly financial statement. Do we have a second? All right, the motion dies for lack of a second. Do we have a further motion?
I did have a follow-up question. The mowing, how do we pay that? Is that for mow the cut, or what was that?
Making the cut.
We paying quarterly or annually, or that was pretty expensive?
He's submitting invoices. Sometimes they don't all come in the same month.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like this or this, or
Just wanted some clarity.
Yeah.
Okay.
and we know that's what this is.
Well, since I didn't receive any of these questions in advance, I can tell you that my best recollection is that it's more than 1 month's payments at a time. But in December, for sure, we have extra funds that we paid because they do the Christmas lights on the building
Yes.
and the tree for us. So we can happily make sure that those invoices match the question, but I didn't bring any of that since I didn't have any of these questions in advance. Any other questions for this report? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass consent agenda 4B.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second? Okay, so we don't have a second. This motion will die for lack of a second. So we'll take no action. Item 4C, meeting minutes from February 3rd, 2026, special meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for February 3rd, 2026.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. That carries unanimously. All right, item 5, new business. We have a guest speaker, Ryan Fortner's with us tonight for a presentation for the Revenue Management Services January Sales Tax Report. Council, you should have that in your packet under 5A.
Thank you, Mayor Boudreaux. City Council and staff, you should have a January 2026 Quarter 1 report in front of you. A couple of things before I begin. The February report is forthcoming. Recently, there has been some shakeups at the comptroller level where some people have moved around. We submit your requests on the first of every single month, regardless of what day that is. Your request was received. We're just waiting for that report. So February is forthcoming. Secondarily, I will remind you that the report you have in front of you is the confidential report. And so while a public report has been submitted, please do not reference any dollar amounts from individual businesses, as that information is confidential. So beginning on page 6, looking at your district demographics, your average allocation per year, $283,838.21. That breaks down to a monthly allocation of $26,335. 2026, only 1 month to report thus far, $26,335. 2025, you had an average allocation per month of $33,844. To date, since 2000, $4,210,000 has been received. 2025 reflected a 12.9% increase over 2024, and you'll see the graph there below listing your average allocations, and with 2026 being the lowest number because it's just 1 month of data. Utilizing the confidential reports received by the state, January of 2026 reflected 540 sales tax filers. Now, this time last year, there was 566. That number, the reason the decrease was because there was more internet sales tax filings in January of last year. February of 2025 had 607 sales tax filers. That is the highest that we've seen in the history of the city. On the following page, page 8, 2024, 2025, and 2026 has been represented there, your month over month. On page 9.
I'm sorry, would you want a question as we go, or you want us to wait?
You may ask as we go.
Okay, you're pretty good speaker, you go pretty quick.
Sorry.
Thank you for that. No, that's good. You gave us a figure of 30,000 for 2026, and you said the average allocation per month. You went back on the first city demographics.
Yes.
You said the average allocation per month is 26, and that's going back for the last 12 months, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so the 30,000 is not averaged in, or is it?
The 30,000 is represented. That's representative of what was actually received just for the 1 month of this year.
Okay.
Apologies, I do this all the time, and I kind of like what I do, so I do tend to talk rather quickly. I apologize.
No problem. No need.
Going back to page 9, and please interrupt as you see fit. Going back to page 9, this is the confidential information for the last 12 months. In the last 12 months, you had 30 sales tax filers that remitted over $1,000. And the reason why we like to use $1,000 is because that is a benchmark of a very healthy sales and a business that's doing very well, and so the city saw 30 businesses over the last 12 months remit that amount to you all. And over the last 12 months, those 30 individual businesses have remitted $358,000 to you. On the following page, the January 2026 confidential information, your top 25. This list does not move around a lot, but you can see you have a healthy mixture of e-commerce as well as physical businesses within the district. Total recoveries, now this number, we're going to bring this back down to zero because it's 2026, but total recoveries up to January of this year, $37,501.63. In 2026, for January, there were 8 filers that remitted over $1,000 to you all. On the following page, because e-commerce is a big deal and it is something that we are monitoring for you all, you'll see the current month top 10, as well as the past 12 months top 10, and their confidential filings. Again, these...
Excuse me again.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. If you go back to page 10, you said total recovery 37,501.
Yes.
Is that what recovered, or what was just recovered in general? Because
That was the efforts of RMS. That was,
total efforts of RMS.
yes, sir.
Wow. So
And I'm gonna...
Are you saying we would not have gotten $37,000 without your?
No, and we actually have the confidential data to back that up. That's around...
So your answer is yes. we
The
would
answer is
not have
yes. So around 33 and change of that was from e-commerce.
gotten the corrections of the post office crap?
The post office, but also corrections of e-commerce in general. Monies that were due to the district from point of sale that had gone out, well, the district, the city, that had gone out of the city that were recovered and brought back. As you all are aware, there's not a lot of, you don't have multiple strip centers here. The bulk of your money comes from a few of your hard corner retails, but also e-commerce. And that was one of the things why we were brought on board, was to look into point of sale. And so those monies were recovered. Now the issue with that, it's not an issue, but were this to be something where it was a target that had been sending money outside of the district, we could bring that back and continue to bring that back. When it comes to e-commerce, this is more likely something that it's been repaired. You guys are getting that money now regularly, but we can't necessarily guarantee that that $37,000 is going to come year over year over year. But most of that is the 32, 33 is from e-commerce, and then the rest is from actual on-the-ground recoveries.
Can I ask another probing question?
Sure.
So you say you can't guarantee it's fixed. So I would consider it fixed when you correct it and we start getting the flow of money, or when you go find out it's in the other county and it starts to come back to us and it's a process to get it back. But I guess my question is, your actions, your specific actions, once accomplished and corrected on something, does not necessarily stay corrected. Is that what you're saying?
No, it stays corrected in the fact that, for example, let's say that there is a manufacturer that is selling something online that is being purchased here, and the state is sending that money elsewhere. That has been fixed. But when it comes to e-commerce, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of accounts, which is one of the things that we search the most when we're going through your confidential data. So what I am basically mentioning to you all is that this money was recovered not long ago, but when we bring this down to zero, there's no guarantee that we're going to bring another $10,000, $20,000 going forward until we find those issues as they occur.
Okay, so the desire would be to bring it down to zero.
I'm sorry?
I guess the desire would be to bring it down to zero where it's all just automatically coming to us.
Correct. So this is what we'd like to do is the past year and a half, because we look for every quarter and every 6 months for missing revenues, because in Texas, revenues are brought into your city in increments of $500 and greater. So a business could be operational, or a e-commerce business could be operational, and until it reaches that particular dollar amount, that's when it makes a remittance. So we can look at 3 months, 6 months, and a year and say, here's where the gaps are, here's where the holes are. So that's why we're going to bring this back down as a reset, starting next month.
So I'm actually thrilled that you're here. Because for months we've been asking about what is the effectiveness of our RMS, and I'm thrilled that the mayor got you here to be able to explain this, because your explanations were terrific, and I'm totally understanding now the process by which you have to go through and how we actually benefit. And I think $37,000 is a lot of money. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have gone over the e-commerce on page 11. On page 12, your January historical filings are listed. Now, I do want to point out 2023. 2023 is one of those situations where this is where we made a recovery. And the only issue why this could be considered a negative is because it's going to skew all of the graphs going forward. But that's why you see that large amount there. January of 2026, $30,884 compared to this time last year, $28,139 is a 9.7% increase. And past that, your monthly allocations graph is listed therein. And that is all I have to present to you all. Like I said, we are going to get the February confidential report and submit that before the end of the month. And we're here for any other questions you might have.
I hope this is my last one because I talked too much. But anyway, on the last page, the question we had before was, is this a calendar or a fiscal year reporting to us, right? And now that I've reviewed it, so we actually put January 26th in that first category?
Yes.
This is calendar.
So, yes, but
Rolling calendar.
But let me just muddy the water a little bit.
Okay.
Because this might be something that you would particularly appreciate. As you may know, the money you received in January was money that was actually received in the city 2 months prior.
Mm-hmm.
But we report, and I'm happy to adjust it as I serve at the pleasure of council, but we report in the actual month that the check was received. So when we report that $30,000 in January, while the monies were received in November, we report for the month of January. Now, I'm happy to adjust. We can do fiscal year, we can do sales tax calendar year, we can do whatever you like. But we report as far as when that check was received by the city in that month.
Okay, so you get the information from us, we receive the check from sales tax, get all of it.
I get it directly from the state.
Well, you get it from the state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's actually received, and we normally in accounting would say when it's received, it's booked.
Yes.
That's the normal thing, right?
That's when the state puts the money directly into your account.
Okay. So the only issue that it brings to us is we do a September, our year end is September 30th, and then we start over with budgeting all the way in August, whatever. It's basically a painful ordeal. And this information is terrific and good. I don't know that it has a direct implication on us trying to do budgeting, except that we are going to have the state's figures anyway. We're going to know what our sales tax expectations are, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. And all of my contact information everyone should have. So this report is your report. I've said it before. We try to tailor the information to every client specifically. So if there is something that you all would like to see, additional graphs, business clusters, breakdowns, all you need to do is just ask, and we're happy to accommodate in the next month. We just ask for 30 days.
I got a question for you. So looking through the information, do you do any projections for any councils?
Yes, we do. For the purposes of budgeting?
Yeah, I mean...
But I will say that our projections are highly conservative, because I would rather budget for you all $100 and you make $1,000 versus budget $1,000 and you only make $100.
Sure.
And it's based on 20 years of doing this and historical, not only for your district, but what we've seen over the last 20 years. But it is going to come in. I have fire departments that we budget 3% and they make 10. But we budget 3% because we've seen what's happened over the past few years. So,
Historic numbers.
but yes, if that's something that you all would like, please ask.
Thank you.
Brian, thanks so much for coming all the
Thank you
way
very
from
much.
Austin. We sure appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
If it pleases you all, I'm going to get back on the road.
Check out the traffic.
That's what Waze is for.
Yeah, 3 hours a week.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, item 5B, presentation by Brett East of Hendon Keith. I don't know why I still can't say it right. Hendon East Collaborative for our zoning projects. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Madam Mayor and members of council, good evening. I'm Brett Keast. I'm the owner and CEO of Hendon Keast Collaborative. Our corporate office is in Sugar Land. I live in Graywood, so I'm only 20-30 minutes away. So I'm pleased to be here. This to me is one of the most important things that this community can do, and I'm pleased that you're getting out in front of development. So many communities around the Houston area have put this off until the water has flowed on the bridge and things get out of control and traffic becomes a mess, and you have a number of issues that once they're there, it's hard to correct. So I applaud you for doing it at this time before development starts coming. We're working in Montgomery right now, and we started the project probably the right timing, and then they fired the city manager, the planning director, and we spent about 9 months, and in that 9 months, they've been slaughtered with subdivision after subdivision after subdivision. And so, subdivisions being built with circular streets, no exits on side streets, not connecting between them, and just creating a nightmare for buses and mail carriers and people. Literally, you can't get there from here, right? So we want to make sure that we're guarding your interests. The big thing I want to mention to you is that there's nobody that is telling you how your community develops other than you and who you represent. The state doesn't say anything about how you go about doing this. We've done this for communities first time before. They've referred to it as a neighborhood protection ordinance because their interest was there's a lot of people that invested money. They've lived here for however long, and they want to protect their investment. They don't want a Walmart, 15 feet from their back fence. So that's the types of things that we're looking at. We deal with character. So you have a character right now. My big question is, what's the character that you want to see 5, 10, and 20 years from now? And that's what we need to help you sustain. Of course, you have the decisions to change it along the way, but we will draft regulations that protect your interest and deliver what you want this community to be. I wrote the Sugarland zoning ordinance 30 years ago when I first got here, and it's been very fun to watch Sugarland unfold and develop over the last 30 years. I think they've done a nice job. So of course, this isn't Sugarland, right? So this is going to be Simonton, and we're going to work with you to deliver on the ground the results that you get, things that are built, where they're built, how big they are, how they relate to your street system, how they take access, how people move around by bike, by car, by foot, how properties relate to one another. All those things are essential to continue to have the quality of life that you enjoy. So, I'll be asking a lot of questions as we go through this process. The first thing we do is we start meeting with residents, business owners, people who have interest in this community, and wanting to see, why did you choose Simonton? Did you grow up here? Did you move here? What is it about this community that brought you here? And what do you fear? What do you not want to happen? What do you want the character of this community to be? And from that, we will start taking everything that we've heard, and we'll start putting words on paper and bringing that to be. What this does is you will have what we call a Unified Development Code. It will have, usually you have geographic areas that we call districts, zoning districts. So you've got some large lot residential areas, right? So it might be a zoning district that says this area is going to be no smaller than 1 acre or 2 acres or 3 acres or whatever that is. We can totally decide, do you want to allow ultimately townhomes or duplexes or apartments, or do you not? We can write that into this ordinance. What do you want things to look like? How do you want to protect the scale, the height? Where the buildings are built to the street, have a nice lawn in front, or whether we set it to the back of the property and fill the front with 500 parking spaces like most communities do, right? I don't see that that's the character of this community. So we will start writing things, and we will bring it to you on a piecemeal basis and say, here's our thinking, here's what we've heard, here's what we wrote, this is how it will happen, this is the controls that you have, this is the process. The only thing that the state does is tells you what the process is. And that is, if you have an area that's ag and somebody comes in and says, I want to build a gas station here, they have to come to you. And if they want to rezone that to do a gas station, they have to go through a public hearing. Community can come in, people within 200 feet, says the state, you can say 300 feet if you want. People within 200 feet can say yea or nay. We don't like that idea. What that does is it forces a higher vote of the council. It's not a simple majority. It'd be more votes on the council would take to do that. So it gives a voice to the community. You've had some developments that come in that you've valiantly fought off, and it was very difficult to do because you didn't have any mechanisms in place where you have recourse. This gives you recourse. This gives your residents recourse. This gives your businesses recourse in a legal way. So this is not about taking an ordinance that was written anywhere else and bringing it to Simon. This will be written from scratch for Simonton. Now we've written over 250, so we've done this a lot. But every one is written specifically for what Simonton wants to achieve. And if we do it right, when you start seeing development happening, you'll be excited because you'll say, what they build on the ground is exactly what we envision Simonton to be. And that's not only where it happens, but also what it looks like. Now, Texas has thrown some curveballs at us in recent years. For instance, we're no longer able to require building material types. So there were lobbyists that got that thrown out. So we used to be able to say, you're going to build masonry, you're going to build split face block, you're going to build this or that. We can't do that, but we can still control the form of the building. We can still control whether they require pitched roofs, those types of things, but we can't explicitly state what materials. But, of course, communities figured end arounds, right? So you can do development agreements. That's a contract. So you can use things like development agreements and other instruments to work with the developers and negotiate some of those things. So we'll talk through all those types of things. Maybe you don't want to go there, maybe you do. Maybe you don't want to go there now, but maybe 3 years from now you say, yeah, we need to revisit this because we're not getting what we want. We put a section on the end of this, on the end of the scope that's called supplemental services. And that is, as you mentioned, Mayor, we don't have a lot of staff, right? Nor do you have people that have dealt with this before. So what we've offered is, and we did this for Iowa Colony, for instance, we did this for Magnolia, we've done this for Quara, we've done it for a lot of different cities, is we act as your staff for a period of time. So that could be, an engineer comes in, architect comes in, a developer, somebody has an idea, they want to float it by, they want to know, will this pass muster? We can meet with them, obviously everything's transparent. We don't take phone calls on the side, everything is routed through the city. And then we can kind of act on your behalf and bring everything to you. Obviously you make the decision. We can either give you a recommendation or just present the facts and let you decide how you want to handle it. So I imagine for some period of time you may want to do that. What I've offered the mayor is, what we've done in other places is that when somebody comes into an application, they post an escrow amount. And basically that amount that they post is what you use to pay our services, so you're not paying it out of your own pocket, right? So those who are bringing investment to the community are helping to, pay for those services. So we have laid out a process. Usually takes about 12 months. Seems like a long time. It's not the writing that takes 12 months. It's giving you materials, letting you review it, make questions. We come and present it. We talk through it. We talk through options and alternatives and how we want to do it. We go back and redraft and we bring it back to you. So we'll do this in a very iterative manner. Again, everything's all above board. It's all transparent. Anybody in the community is invited to any meeting. We don't do anything behind doors. I don't take phone calls in my office from citizens or anybody else because I don't want any impropriety that we're working with anybody on the side or anything like that. Never at all. So we've laid out, we'll come to the community, we will meet with everybody, we'll look at your subdivision regulations, we'll look at some of the ordinances that you have in your code of ordinances that we will bring into this Unified Development Code. The idea is that as development comes to you, they should be able to find everything they need to know in one place. They shouldn't have to go to this chapter, that chapter, this chapter, and oh, by the way, we adopted a policy and it's on a shelf somewhere and you have no way of finding that because it's not online. The other thing we're going to do is use our software to put everything online. So we will be able to codify all of your ordinances. So when we draft, we can publish it and we can receive comments from the community if you so choose. And we can actually click the button and it'll actually embed a table in every section that shows us all the comments that we're getting from the public, so everybody knows what we're hearing. And then we can use that as input as we're mulling over it and deciding how we want to write things. Then when we're done, you have an ordinance that's online. Somebody could be sitting in Austin or Dallas or Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and they want to build something here. They'll be able to get online and look up everything they need to know. We build a lot of tools so they don't have to spend time going through a table of contents and trying to hire an attorney or hire an engineer to kind of dissect this thing. We'll make it easy for them. We can even do maps so somebody can go in and click on a property and it will tell them, you know, this is what it's zoned, here's all the setbacks, here's all the heights, here's the uses that are permitted or not permitted. So they'll have everything available at their fingertips, on their phone, on their laptop, whatever they want to, so they can make decisions. That's important too because it doesn't put burden on you with limited staff to be chasing down questions and trying to find the answers for things that you're not familiar with. So we will start drafting, we'll bring them to you, we'll get your comments, we'll go back and redraft them. Next time we come, we'll present those. If there's any further questions, we'll present the next thing. So we'll be working with you often. I'm going to spoon feed it to you. This is not something you do every day. You're all intelligent people. You have opinions and perspectives from living here, but there's going to be terminology and things like that that I'll explain to you why that's necessary. Of course, Olson & Olson, I've worked with them. I worked with the owners 30 years ago when I was writing ordinances. So we're actually working with them in Buda, Texas. We just got a contract with Olson & Olson. So we'll be working with them obviously too, making sure that everything's in line with state law, which has changed a lot. So what questions can I answer for you?
Would you share with the council the discussion that we had about, I'm going to call it an interim measure?
Yes.
Because I think they'll...
Yes. So it's not uncommon that when something like this comes up and it piques the interest of people, they're like, I better hurry up and build this metal shed. Or I better hurry up and add on to my building, whatever. So what we often do, and one of the first things that we propose to you is that we will adopt interim regulations. And basically what that will be is to say anything that develops within the city limits during this time while we're drafting will require like a special use permit, right? Which will route everything through council. And we'll give you some criteria to use to consider the appropriateness and how things like that work. So basically, from the time that by the time we bring it to you and you adopt that interim ordinance, anything that is going to develop will have to make an application. They'll have to submit it to you, and you'll have a chance to review that application, discuss it with them, and ultimately decide if you want to approve that special use permit.
How does that align with our permit process, man? So we have to have permits for most everything that happens, right?
So that's probably building permits and dog licenses and things like that. So this is kind of precedes those building permits, right? So right now, somebody wants to get a building permit, they have to abide by the building code, right? And fire code and whatever else you've adopted. So this is whether or not you can build that in that location. So these are approvals that will give you the ability to manage how the community develops, and you can manage it however you so choose. So they would have to get a special use permit. Once they get that permit and they get your approvals, then they could go for a building permit and actually go through the building process.
It's a measure that would, correct me if I restate it incorrectly, but that would protect us during the time of another year of development so that we're not completely, I shouldn't say completely, but that we have another layer of ability to control our future for the next 12 months while this is worked on.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, I specifically, thank you for meeting with us on this so we could bring it to the council, brought this up. I hope the people of Simonton realize the concrete plant could have still built.
Absolutely.
They could have built that plant.
We fought like
Luckily,
that.
they were good people, and luckily we had staff up here was pressing not to, find any ways not to do it. When we were talking to him about this agreement, we really talked about this one, hey, wait, something can happen between now and if it's gonna take a year to get this done. And when we ran on getting zoning finished, getting it started, keep going. And this was discussed, I'm like, that's a great idea. Because, man, a couple of these acres out there, we could get some businesses in here we don't want. They said we put a pause on it, and, you know, maybe we like it, but it gives us a chance to say, hold, time out. And so, yes, that was spoken during our meeting, and thank you for coming and explaining all this. I know probably 99% of people I talk to knocking on doors said, get it done. So that's what we're here tonight to.
There's usually a flashpoint, right? In Hitchcock, down just outside of Galveston, they came to us, it's been many years ago, but they had a subdivision that was set back about 500 feet off Highway 6, but it was several $100,000 homes. And the entrance to the subdivision, there was a mobile home park. They didn't have zoning. They didn't have any way to stop it. So they came to us pleading and said, please, don't let this happen and put mobile homes 20 foot from my back porch, right? Nothing wrong with mobile homes. They can be approved in the appropriate location. It's just that they didn't want them in that particular location, right? So those are the decisions that we'll make together as a community about, you can say yay or nay, and if you say yay, we can say where and how and what it looks like and how it's screened and how it takes access and all those types of things. So I think you will look back 5, 10, 20 years from now and say, darn, that was a good decision. Because
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for quite a while. How long have y'all been doing this in your own plan? Where you come up with an idea to, you know, to put something in place?
Yep.
And then to follow up with that, once you've been doing this and how long you've been doing them is, what kind of issues have you seen? What kind of risk are we at by having that in place?
Well, probably the biggest thing is, so you can establish the process, but then it would be giving you enough criteria and enough backing for somebody that's coming in to understand that they don't just have carte blanche authority to build whatever they want to, wherever they want to, with impacts on the community, your water systems, your drainage, your neighbors, so forth. So we will try to give you enough content in that special use ordinance to bridge you until the time that we have, the full ordinance. We can even, as we're drafting, if you so choose, you can adopt piece by piece as we're going. So if we get the district draft, you say, we're good with these, okay, let's add that to this ordinance and let's, keep moving forward so we can start putting pieces in place as we go. We've done it, we did it in Zachary, Louisiana. After the flood in New Orleans, Zachary has a great school district, and people started piling in there, and they started seeing apartment after apartment after apartment, and they didn't have any way to stop it. So the mayor brought us in and said, please help us stop this. They didn't want to do a moratorium, so that's kind of unkind to business. They said, what else can we do? We said, we're going to put in an interim ordinance, and then we're going to draft you a development code and get it right, and then we'll lift the interim ordinance. We did it in Aquarium also after when the fracking started happening, and down outside Aquarium, when they were just getting overwhelmed with hotels and boarding houses and man camps and all the things that they didn't want. They wanted the money, but they didn't want all the impacts. We did the same thing there.
But gives us, it won't go to council for, since it's.
Exactly.
So take a look at that project. So, the extreme one is a concrete plant, but there are other businesses I don't think we want per the comprehensive plan.
Well, yeah, we'll probably also make reference to the comp plan. So, comp plan is just not law, it's not an ordinance, right? But it is your plan, it is your vision. So at least we can make reference to the comp plan, spelling out your vision, and then you can draw from the comp plan to support your decisions. So in the minutes, you can say, we're in favor of this because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's in the minutes. So if they were to challenge you, you have a basis for making that decision. It's not just willy-nilly. And in addition to criteria, decision criteria, and things like that we'll put in there to try to help you make.
So the power of an interim ordinance, which gives us, the city council, the power to control a lot more, right? So we basically become
You become what you ultimately become once
Right.
this whole thing is done. But just in a,
So
Yeah,
the
let's-
authority of just an interim ordinance and the legality of it, would it be questioned by people, and can it be questioned, or is it just, we made the law? And it's not, can be superseded by anything else?
no, usually you have a provision, for instance, some of your neighborhoods may have their own restrictive covenants, right? And so what we say is whichever is more strict applies. So if we say a setback's 20 feet and a neighborhood says it's 30 feet, the neighborhood trumps, right? If we say it's 30 feet and the neighborhood says it's 20 feet, then the zoning ordinance applies. I don't know that there's anything that would trump it. We haven't had any legal issues where we've done this before. We work with the attorney, of course, and we would in this case as well, to make sure that, you know, they're blessing it and make sure that it's tight. So I don't, right offhand, I don't see any downsides to it.
Okay. So I have,
Ms. Angela, did you have? Oh,
that's all right. You please ask if they have anything.
Oh, we've already met, and so I've read through it and talked with you, and I'm very thankful that you came tonight, and I'm really excited about moving the city forward and making sure that we are covered and safe with the growth that's coming, so I just really appreciate you working with us.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
Have you reviewed the comp plan?
I have,
you already
yeah.
seen it?
I have to compliment you. For a community this size, it's very thorough. There's stuff in there that you don't commonly see, so it was very, very thorough.
It was a lot of work,
And,
a lot
I
of
mean,
people did.
Yeah, and so that's the first document that we look at. Start saying, this is what their vision is, this is what they stressed, how do we implement that? That's what, it's just a plan, right? Plans
Right.
change, but ordinances are lost. So we will, if that's what you say your vision is, we will write the regulations, and you may say, well, that's not really our vision, Yeah, so that's what we'll do.
as part of the process, kind of backing up, comprehensive plan is required first, so that the vision is established and we know the direction. And then zoning can follow that. And we want to build on the work that was done by the public and the council and the third party that helped us with that. Now by making it the actual law, the rules.
Oftentimes, we'll actually cross-reference the comp plan. So if you have goals, objectives, initiatives, actions, recommendations in the comp plan, we'll actually, so we make a rational nexus, right? So we say, we're doing this because this is the comp plan. That's a policy document adopted by the council. And so this is now the implementing mechanism, the implementing regulations for bringing that to fore. And, it's not uncommon that you may not get into this and start learning more about it and say, here's my damn, we didn't really mean that. South Potter Island, their comp plan said we want lush landscaping.
Oh,
Okay, so we wrote an ordinance with lush landscaping.
salt water.
It hit the fan, as you might imagine, and what they ended up defining lush landscaping was 1 tree per lot. That's not lush landscaping, but your comp plan said you want a lush landscaping, right? So these are words that they sound great, nobody can disagree with lush landscaping, but when you actually start requiring it, the people going, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, that's too much. So we will if we identify anything that we think you may question when we start writing the regulations, we'll say, hey, do you really mean this? And this is what it would take. Is that really what you want to do? Or do you want to do this, this, or this? So, but I think all in all, it's a good plan.
Thank you. And just for everyone else to know, there's a framework of how this work happens. So every month or by this, milestones are established right out of the gate. So that just keep it on track. We pay as we go for work that's completed.
So one of the first things we'll do is we'll create a project schedule. And it will say, this week we're scheduling interviews with individuals, with groups, with businesses, with whoever that might be. And then we usually take notes of that and we give them to you. So everybody can see not who said what, but what was said, right? And then we'll say, we'll deliver a product on this date, we'll give you 2 or 3 weeks to review it, and we'll come in on this date. So basically for the next year, we're going to lay out all the dates. So you can look at that and say, this is a city event or whatever. So we'll have all those dates for a year. And we'll stick to that schedule unless you tell us we're not going to. And then we're going to, every month, we'll give you a progress report that will tell you basically everything that we did following that schedule. We met with this, we had this conference, we discussed this, and we set this meeting date, or we changed this meeting date. So you'll have a full progress report of what we did. And then the time that we spent, our invoices will say, Brett spent 4 hours, we spent 12 hours, different staff, show you what we did. And then it'll say, it's $8,000 for this month. And then next month it says, you haven't paid us $8,000 yet, so it's $8,000 plus another $4,000, so now you owe us $12,000, right? And so we'll just submit you every single month. Some months will be bigger than others because some months will be more intensive and we're really drafting and meeting with you and things like that. So we'll do a project schedule. We'll do an annotated outline of basically the table of contents, how we see this thing flowing, where your current ordinances will plug into that. So if you're used to looking at subdivision regulations and show you where they're going to be placed within the bigger structure. And then after that, we start drafting and bringing you pieces. Yeah, and we'll explain it to you. And I would say, tell my staff to, talk to people like you're explaining this to your mom, right? She doesn't have a clue what you're talking about, but that's how you need to explain it to people so they understand.
You're a little old like me, so some moms nowadays have a little more knowledge than we might think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
They might even be in this room.
People pick up on that, yeah. But are there questions?
Yes.
Yes.
If you don't mind, just 1 second. Kelly, do you have any? I'm good. Just make sure everybody gets a voice.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right. My focus, and I read your entire agreement, and I applaud people who worked on this and got us to this point for all of its own. Let me just say that. But I went through it because I have extensive experience. I talked to you before about going through these contracts and finding things that we need to know. Right?
Sure.
So we need to know, and maybe up front, not that we would not proceed, just that we need to know. And one of the major parts for me is going through the contract. I'll ask you the specific questions. If you don't have the answer today, it's okay.
Yeah.
All right? So
just so you know,
yes, you have it.
This has been reviewed by hundreds of attorneys, dozens in Texas.
Not the legal part.
And
Including Olson and Olson. in
yeah,
our
so
case, yeah.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you have whatsoever.
It's not the legal part at all.
Okay.
I'm not a lawyer. So it's not the legal part at all. So let's try to get through my questions and
Sure.
Because what I'm trying to do is make sure the council knows that your price that you quoted here is not the price for us to deliver all of this.
It is the price to deliver
No,
this.
your price, not our price. So I'll
Yeah.
point it out for you.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just go first to page 3 where you talk about consulting personnel and you say that paragraph 4.1, they're your people.
Yes, they are.
Okay, and so they're your 1099 contractors or whatever it is, whatever you do, they're yours.
Yes.
They're in the price.
Yeah, they're not contractors, they're full-time staff.
Correct. And then the 4.2 is consultants with contract sub-consultants.
None.
They're yours?
We don't have any sub-consultants.
So 4.2 is irrelevant.
No, it's
Well,
the main contract.
Yeah, so if you came to me and said, hey, we need a traffic impact statement drafted, I may say, okay, well, I need a traffic engineer. And you would have to approve that and say, we'll approve who you do and how much they're doing and their scope and everything. But right now, we will draft everything, Kendi Keith will draft everything that we've put in front of you. We don't have any sub-consultants. We don't have any, side contractors. Or
but what you just said is that we did say something like that, we're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a potential increased cost. That's all.
Yeah, only if you ask.
And you have one example.
We have a maximum not to exceed fee, and we have a scope of work.
So I did not see maximum not to exceed. I'm sorry if I missed that. You have the 186.
Yes, sir.
Is that a maximum not to
That's
exceed?
a maximum not to exceed. It won't change unless you tell us it changes.
Or I'll ask more questions that come clear why I might be asking that.
Okay.
All right, so we go to catch that one up. Okay, so again, the next thing is on page 6 of 11, and it is kind of a legal question. So right of either party to terminate the cause whatever the cost might be.
Mhm.
And somewhere in here about termination, you have termination for convenience also.
Yeah.
Is that because this is I consider it a multi-year, because it's going to bridge our fiscal year,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Then I would have to ask legal, do we need that paragraph in here that says if we don't fund you in the next budget, it's done?
That's, we've actually had that, we may have that clause in here. That's a common clause that we do have, that there's no guarantee that you're going to fund it in the subsequent year, right?
Yeah, I couldn't find it, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's a clause we have in the contract. I can add that if that's something that makes you more comfortable.
Well, I would ask,
So we're going to discuss the
let
funding
Poston know.
on the next item down too,
Yeah,
so
this
that it
isn't
can be
funding.
resolved.
This isn't funding, this is in case, this is the fact that it is over a year, and the funding only comes in part because I expect we're going to fund it all. The funding only comes in part from the fact that it covers another year, and it's a different council that have to be responsible for it, make a budget.
Not if we have to encumber the money. We're already using encumbered, but we'll talk about that more on the next, on the actual item.
Okay, we'll talk about it then.
Can I ask a question?
The rest of the questions have to do with Exhibit A scope of services.
Okay.
So the first one was a multi-year contract, but that's fine. The next one, we start to talk about project administration, city's project director. City's project director, is that one that we need?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
It's basically our point of contact.
all right. And so that's really their job, just the point of contact that you funnel through?
Yeah, we'd send emails, we'd send a progress report. If we have questions about, are we going to meet here, we're going to meet, in a church or school somewhere, those types of administrative things. They wouldn't be making, big decisions. That's the council, right?
Who's this normally, in your experience?
Normally it's like a staff, like a planning director or something. In your case, it could be the mayor, or it could be whoever you decide that project director is.
So to be named.
Yeah.
Okay? So I broke down the rest of the task as the cost associated with the task.
Mhm.
That's on your agenda.
It is.
And when we start going through, like the very first one, we are on page 3 of it. Staff Technical Advisory Committee, is staff.
That may be the council, honestly, since you don't have lots.
Well, it says.
But your engineer,
Well, it says city administrator, secretary, and one or more representatives of city engineering consultants, LJA Engineering, right?
Mhm.
So if we're going to use LJA Engineering, they're not going to work for us for free.
That is correct.
All right, so I'll have to just make a note that says, well, that's a cost, that's not in the contract, but we will have to pay for it.
Okay.
All right. And then, the fact that we don't have an administrator yet, if we needed that type of administration, you provide it?
well, I mean, we will, track all the expenses, issue progress reports, issue invoices, maintain all that administrative materials. The only thing that you would need is, if we do an agenda, somebody to distribute the agendas, posting meetings, doing stuff like that. I don't necessarily care who it is. You can appoint whoever you choose to be.
All of
If it's
them.
not city administrator,
Yes.
whatever people.
We have a secretary.
Yeah.
That's what we have, a secretary.
Okay.
And I guess what my concern would be is the amount of time that might be required as these things grow through, that we would actually just put onto her. Say, look, you go get the meeting schedule, you go find a room, you go do X, Y, Z, along with her other duties. And I'm just thinking, you have the experience. And you could tell us that, okay, so typically, a secretary is somebody that has the time to do this.
Yeah, because we basically will carry the load, right? The only thing we're asking for is, are we having the meeting here on this date? We need to post it, so it's, if we have more than X number of council members, it's a public meeting. That's something you could discuss too, whether you want to have 2 appointees of the council that are, kind of facilitating this, And then we will bring it to the full council when we have drafts, depends on whether you want to do.
So that's the CAC.
That's,
So that's the
Yep.
next line item, is Code Advisory Committee, which consists of 2 members of City Council,
yep,
a group of citizens, business and landowners, professionals representing land development, real estate, and neighborhood interests. So,
and anybody
Just like we
else.
did for the comprehensive plan.
Yep.
We developed a board with all of those different.
yes.
And I'd
People
suggest
would
you have some of the same people if they're willing, so we have continuity.
Okay, and so, will there be any cost incurred for us for that? Those meetings or whatever, to get all those people together?
I mean,
Part of
Are you
the,
gonna sit
once a
down?
quarter.
If you want to put
had
like
a-
Kool-Aid and Oreos,
Yeah,
Electricity.
that's about the extent of the expense that we had when we did the comp plan.
we won't be putting any burden on your staff. We have that project director, when we have a deliverable, we'll send it to the project director, they can distribute it.
So then my question would be, all these things happen during work hours or late hours or weekends? When would this typically happen, all these types of meetings and stuff?
Ordinarily in the evening, so people can, like this time, so people can, yeah, make on some work.
And so your staff would be working not on an overtime basis, and it wouldn't be costing us any more money. Do you have staff that's out of town?
I do. Oh, I also have staff in town. So
And-
some of the drafting, the software that we have is cloud-based. So we can have staff writing things from other places, and it all comes into one place, and you can see all that as we're drafting. But I'll be the one, and Jennifer's another Sugar Land resident. So we'll have, using primarily local staff. I'll be doing a lot of the writing myself, just because this is kind of my pet project.
And you're figuring about 8 meetings throughout this process?
Yeah, since I'm here local, if it's 9, I don't care. I'm not going to charge you for an extra meeting or anything like that. If it becomes 15, then
Yeah.
maybe we're talking about it. But
But the baseline is that you're using 8 per patient?
yeah, yeah.
But basically it's written 8, and your comment says that, like he's asking, if it goes to 9 or 10, you have a right to purchase.
If you were in Louisiana and I had to fly there, drive there, get a hotel and restaurants and stuff, I'm concerned. But when you're in my backyard, I'm not overly
Okay.
concerned.
But the
Unless it-
council would
Yeah, unless it gets,
discuss it.
if you start getting 12, 14 meetings, I might say, hey, you know, this is much more than what we had
Yeah.
agreed to, so.
All right. Anything else, Dan?
No.
Okay. The next one is task 3. It has 2 meetings, I think, for it, that you mentioned in here. And we have to publish agendas. A lot of these things are going to be open meetings, right? Open Meeting Act is going to apply.
That's correct.
We're going to have to publish, and we're going to have to record, and do all the things that an open meeting requires, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's done in secret.
Now, you, bring that up there. Organization and outline. Interim ordinances, I think that's what we just talked about.
We
right?
did.
So that's going to be basically a priority up front. You have it as task 5. We're going to move it to maybe task 1.
It'll be one of the very first things we do after we, you know, we're going to meet with people and we're going to review your ordinances and get familiar with everything. And then we will draft, that'll be your first, other than the schedule and the outline, that'll be the first deliverable you get.
And of course, doing all of that's going to require the legal review.
Yeah,
And he's not there.
no. I would,
I mean, would you expect that we would do that
Oh, heck
without
no.
consulting? I'm not sure
No.
what the question is about.
Okay, when I first started talking, Lori, I said, what I'm after is that the council understands that the 186 is not the total cost of ownership of getting this done. That we're going to have other costs, which that relates to this. If we do supplemental staffing, that's not free.
yeah, I
Okay?
would suspect,
That's all I'm after.
yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
So, sorry.
Usually you would do about 3 questions, and so if you're going line by line, just let
I'll
us know
stop.
how much farther, how much more.
I'm going through the whole document. I spent the time to go through the whole document, so I'm willing to stop at any point, let anyone ask any question, like Andy did already. So just let me know.
Go ahead. I mean, we certainly want all your questions to be answered. I was just trying to see if any of them could combine.
Okay, well, I would have hoped so. Very familiar with charrettes. And charrettes are a fantastic thing because it really is where you really get to put some meat on the bones, right? And get everybody involved, and you're going to come here with actually illustrations, maps, tools. So this is well into the program where you're going to be able to almost see, feel, touch.
Yes.
And then on it says meetings over the days of the charrette. How many days do you think the charrette will take?
In a small town like this, sometimes it can be, a day and a half or something. It's more for us to meet with people, see the lay of the land, talk to people that may know about utilities, any projects that may be out there, so we're informed. And then usually we'll start sketching and drafting, and then we might have a evening meeting, and people can come in and say, yeah, this is great, or I'd like to change this, or this isn't a good idea. And then, we come back with kind of revised schematics and things like that. The whole purpose of that is so we know, we can help visualize what the words on paper will look like on the ground and make sure that we're on the right track.
Okay, excellent. Drafting in modules, when you say drafting in modules, you're going to be delivering in module stuff.
In pieces. So we might send you 2 chapters, right?
All right, so we might get 2 chapters at a time or something.
Yeah, I don't want to overwhelm you. So we'll give you enough that you can read, give us feedback, and then we'll proceed with the next one.
So I know you probably are not, well, maybe you are. I might be misspeaking because Angela and Andrew has a lot of information. Chapter 22 and 26 for signs and subdivisions, it says you're going to coordinate with signs and subdivisions.
They will be
2.3 miles. Saying that we can have a standard type, maybe color or organizational or something like that is what you're talking about?
Well, usually you'll have different types, different sizes of signs in different locations. So whether you want to require monument signs, do you want traveling signs, do you want moving signs, do you want videos on signs, how do you want them lit? All those types of things, if they're not already in your ordinance, we will talk through those and we'll write sign standards so you don't get Vegas style signs. Okay?
I asked about how many meetings, but on the zoning map, when you're delivering that one, that piece, task 8, how many meetings do you think that would be?
Usually we do a map, and by that time we have a pretty good feel for the lay of the land, and we have input. Oftentimes we'll put a map in City Hall here, and people can come in and provide comments and notes and things like that. So it's usually not a big hurrah, but we certainly want to give everybody, if there's major landholders, you may want to go to them and say, you've got your major developer, you want to go to them and say, does this match up with what you're planning to do?
Okay, so I like that, but the meeting that's the intentional meeting is between the staff, the city council, all going there, looking at the zoning map, and we get to see everything. And so if we wanted to leave it there and say, hey, public, y'all can come in and out, you can see it on your own, ask questions for the mayor or whoever. That's great. Okay. Final adopted code is going to be in a web-based format. Now, this is where, and I may have it later, but I'll skip to it now. You're going to give us a free license for Encode, which is your software.
It is. During the time we're drafting. Yep.
Okay. I looked at that and said, okay, I've had people like Accenture all work with me, and they give you something free, and nothing is really free. Because at the end of this, when you've got this thing beautifully working, everything else, now we have to start paying, right? We're going to have a license for Encode ad infinitum if we keep it.
Yeah.
Today we have MuniCode and we have eCode 360. So is it in this project for us to take MuniCode, eCode 360, move it into your repository or into the cloud as a starting point, or are we just going to say, let that run and then we'll just replace it?
So entirely up to you as council. What we will often do is, we've worked with both of them, I know them personally, so we will match the organization and the layout and the numbering system and everything. We will tell one of those two, whoever has your code of ordinances, that we have a new chapter. You're going to repeal these chapters because they're all going into this new chapter, and then they will put a link in there that will bring up Encode Plus. We can always export it out of Microsoft Word and give you a Word document, and you can do with it as you want. I think what you're going to discover is that what many of our clients do is they decide that they're going to take everything and put them all into Encode Plus because it blows the other ones out of the water. They don't do any of the mapping where you click on a parcel and it tells you everything. We've got tools because we're zoning experts that we've built specifically for zoning.
Well, you don't have to sell me on what you can do, because I went through that and I'm like, wow, this is just great. It's got everything.
Ultimately your decision, and we won't
Okay.
charge you anything that you haven't authorized us to do.
The only reason I bring it up is that could be a cost savings if we can eliminate the other two, and if we decide to go just with yours.
And just for clarity, when we codified our ordinances, when we did the comprehensive plan, we changed from Unicode to eCode. So we're not doing both right now.
I thought I saw
But so then you would,
Okay.
council at the end will decide if we're going to be
I thought I
finished
saw
with
payment from
eCode.
Unicode, is why I asked, Mayor. I thought I saw payment from Unicode. Maybe it expires now, whatever, I don't know. I just saw payment from Unicode, that's what I mentioned as a name.
I'll give you a demonstration at the appropriate time and show you the differences, and you can make a decision if you think it's beneficial to you or not.
I think I saw yours at TML conference in Fort Worth. Okay, staff augmentation. So that would be the potential for increased costs over the 186, am I correct?
Remember, I suggested that we give you an ordinance to adopt where an applicant would post money. So let's say they're making an application, you say you post $2,000, and we send you an invoice for $1,000, there's $1,000 left over, you give it back to them. Or you can keep a certain amount for your admin costs. So therefore, you're not paying out of general fund us for these services. As applicants come in, they're basically paying for you to have professional services to review the application.
I just don't see it as maybe correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but I don't see that as a large number coming in now of us having to get money coming in from applicants. We're going to hopefully have a lot of this or all of it done before we have a real issue. The interim is very important because we need to do the stopgap, right? But what my pertinent question is, you're talking about development client interaction, plan review, and the things you mentioned here is, I'll call it out of scope. And so you pay for it individually if you have to do it, right?
Yeah, you can do it really any way you want to.
I understand, but
And it may not, you may not have but two a year in the first year. But 5 years from now, you may have 35. And so then they can overwhelm you. And so you want somebody helping you review all their plans, check it against the code, negotiate with you, write staff reports, advise you on what they're proposing, what you may want to change, how they're getting utilities, streets, offsite improvements, all those things.
Okay, maybe I stated it wrong. I'm just going to take one and say, okay, here's the situation. What's it going to cost me? So if we're done, and we have to do an on-call consultation interpretation for some reason, because hell, we're going to have staff there, whatever.
Yeah.
What's your rate?
Well, I charge $200 an hour, but I have staff that charge much less. So, for instance, in Iowa Colony, we had a much less expensive staff member who used to work for a city that reviewed all the materials, coordinated with the applicant, coordinated with the city attorney, wrote staff reports, and can present them, in front of you if you want.
So one of them that did strike me the most though is training and capacity building. We're going to be doing that as we do all this work, right? So there's no extra charge for that portion of this.
If you were get to a point where you decide to appoint a planning commission, so all the things go through the planning commission, not everything coming to the council, you may want to get your planning commission up to speed. So you may want us to come in and say, do a mock process, show them how to do it, what they need to review, how they need to act on things, how they need to recommend to the council body.
What do you think we'd be paying for a person for that? Would it be one or two or just meetings?
Probably just one. And we would, when we do an on-call agreement, it's either hourly, so we say, hey, we're just going to work hourly at this rate, or it's a definite deliverable. And we would write a scope work for you and say, this is going to be $2,000 or $1,500 or $10,000 or whatever it is. And you say, yeah, proceed or don't proceed.
Okay, so basically, there's others listed here, but I'm not going to go through each one of them. If you answered the question of, there's going to be a cost, and it depends on what we ask for.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, the council would decide in the future if you want or need
Yes.
services, they would decide the budget, they would.
It's just like your
Absolutely.
consulting
They're
engineer,
not-
right?
Absolutely.
Just
Nobody's going to run the
clarity.
block.
Well, there are no hidden surprise expenses in this proposal. There's a no greater than price. Everything that's included is listed. Anything that would extra would absolutely be discussed, and council would make that decision at the time before extra things were done or added. And then in a future state, if there are more services available, and we'd like to have them, the council will decide how that gets handled.
We won't do extra things and then say, you owe me.
Not insinuating that at all. I'm just saying I want to clarify that those things can
Glad you
happen.
do.
All right? Because
Yeah,
it's
I
not for
want no
anybody else.
surprises.
Clarifying it for myself, nobody else.
All right.
Well, I'd like to clarify. He clarified for himself, I guess. He didn't clarify it for the citizens. He asked the question twice, the same thing. So during the interim, if somebody applies to do a business in here, and we've all passed the ordinance, and we wanted you guys to review it, we would come up with a price to charge them, right? So the city would have any unhidden costs. Now then he asked, well, when it's done, and kind of asked the same question, yeah, then we would have an agreement with you to do outside consulting for us, correct?
So what the supplemental
After it's
services
finished,
is,
yes.
we would probably do
Okay.
an on-call agreement that says you either hire us on an hourly or you hire us task by task, and we
So
agree.
once this is done, then it's up to the council to either agree to that on-call,
Sure.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
I just want to clarify, make sure people understood what he was asking.
Thank you for doing that.
I have a question. Do your zoning and ordinances include the ETJ for the city?
So zoning does not, but subdivision authority does. So when you come to laying out lots and lot arrangements and streets and block sizes and utilities and easements and things that are required to build a subdivision, yes. But outside the city limits, you can't say you can build this type of use but not that type of use. Nor can you dictate density. So you can't tell them you have to build this size of lot. So if they want to build 5,000 square foot lots, they can build 5,000 square foot lots.
Outside of the
the
city limits in the ETJ, they can do that?
Unless you have some type of non-annexation agreement or something else that your attorneys can advise you on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank
you.
I'll stand here all night and answer questions. That's why I'm here. So I'm happy to answer.
You want water?
I would.
Bring my own.
Any other questions that you have?
If you think of some after this, we can surely
Appreciate it.
share them by email and get in touch with Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
You'll find
so
out
much.
I'm kind of a no surprises, straight up kind of person. So
Just the way we like it.
absolutely. So all right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, council item 5B is discussion and possible action to approve entering into a professional services agreement with Kendon Keast for the purpose of establishing zoning in the city of Simonton.
Madam
So
Mayor,
let's talk about,
Madam Mayor, I'd like to go to closed session, please.
well, I'm not through talking, so just give me 1 second.
Okay.
One thing to be included in the discussion is funding. So in the current year budget,
not previously in previous years, because we are using money that's been encumbered, dedicated by previous councils and encumbered for this. We have $155,000 in that encumbered funding. This agreement is for $186,000. We want to say 85, 186. So there's a shortfall there of $31,000. My recommendation is that we include in the discussion and possible action tonight how we're going to handle that money. So you could do a budget amendment, is that's the right word, Phil? A budget amendment, and dedicate that $31,000 where it's going to come from, and then it would be encumbered if you don't spend it this year with the $155 that you've already got, so that your forward payment or your continuing payment, let's say, I shouldn't say forward, but the continuing funding for the project is already established. Just like the council did a couple of years ago when we made the estimation and put 155. A couple of recommendations or options that you could use is 110, 5,200, which is payroll. We have $216,000 in this year's fiscal budget for payroll. Obviously, we're 6 months in and we have not paid a city administrator. We haven't hired a person for that. So we have significantly more than $31,000 that are available out of the current year budget that you can move from payroll to this project in planning and zoning. Another option, of course, would be that there is money in reserves. If for some reason you don't want to use the unspent money in payroll for this year, you could look at your funding for reserves. In our city of Simonton, ICS, for example, you're over $800,000 right now. Of course, you have emergency operating funds and things like that. But there's money available that council could decide to do that. So this is funded by the council. This is made by the council. If there were any contributing, I know you had a question about the EDCs. If EDCs took on a project that was somehow supported this in a way, there are actions that could be complementary for that in the budget for either EDC, and there are lots of limitations about what could be funded by an EDC. Yes.
I like the idea of using payroll. One, it's already in the budget, but we're not using it. Even if we hired somebody today, it'd still be 30 days by the time 45 days for to get through the process and then they come on board. Instead of going into savings for this is definitely the number one priority that I heard. But using it already there, we're not tapping in reserves, and then of course EDC's already kind of got their deal going, their different projects going on. I think it's a great idea. Because we're not asking for more money, we're just using money that probably isn't going to be used. Yeah.
You would obviously have the same option if you get later into your fiscal year, and it looks like, for example, the legal portion or the engineering portion is going to cause us to spend more money than you already have in the budget. You could do the same thing, do a budget amendment or a budget adjustment.
If we do a budget adjustment on this one, so we transfer over or look to adjust payroll with having that fund in there, is that, and this is going to go over from one fiscal year to the next, so that just becomes encumbered for the next year? Right, so it just follows through?
Right, so then you don't have to fund it from next year's budget. You could have your payroll amount the same, or however you want to handle that.
Yeah.
But it's a one-time expense, so if you take money that's not, obviously not going to be spent in one category, you can put it in a different category.
So the second point of that question was, if we have that, can we do everything that hasn't been spent for payroll up until this point and encumber the full amount to cover some of these other expenses that are going to happen?
So I'm not the expert, but you really wouldn't technically call it encumbered until the end of the fiscal year.
Right. So,
But to answer your question, yes, you can spend from anywhere in your budget almost. If you see that you're not going to use money that you budgeted in one bucket, you can put it in a different bucket. So the answer is yes. The terminology about encumbered
because
is
it
really...
will transfer over to next year.
Right.
We would be the reason.
Yeah.
Any other questions about that part of the financial proposal?
So we would want to do a budget amendment first before we talk about the contract? Or
You
do it all?
could, you could say it all, you could include it in your motion to accept this contract,
Okay.
and it's going to be funded by X, and then the subsequent meeting, all in one motion, and then the subsequent meeting will make the official budget adjustment.
Well, so if we did that, Mayor, so the contract could actually be signed before the budget amendment's done?
Yes, because there's $155,000 already allocated to it. So if you think of it from an escrow position, and there is money available to fund it.
Absolutely money available.
And you're making the adjustment, you've already declared where that additional money is going to come from, so it's a completely encumbered contract. Then we would just clean it up with, I mean, we probably have an annual budget adjustment anyways to kind of balance books, which is a pretty typical process, or we bring it back for ordinance next time to officially amend. But we wouldn't touch that $155,101 before we'd adjust or amend the budget.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the zoning project presentation as presented from Brett Keast, Kendig and Keast. And in addition, that we authorize the mayor to not only sign the contract, but to make budget amendments as needed in order to appropriate the right monies to cover the contract and propose back to us the budget amendments.
Okay, would you mind if I add something
You can
to
add.
your,
Sure.
you know, let's include the language, the $31,000 would come from line
You made a
item.
motion, can I be the one that amended?
Yes, you can. Let me just give the number, okay? So 100
grandstanding?
100 dash
I'm not grandstanding, sir.
Okay.
dash 5200 payroll, $31,000 is the dollar amount.
Yeah, so I'd like to amend his motion to use 31,000 out of payroll for the budget amendment to help cover the contract.
Okay?
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Can you give me the number one more time?
110, 5200.
Does sound like code.
Yes, it does.
We're trying to be like you, though. We're trying to be buttoned up like you.
No, it's good. I like tight.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We need to vote.
I'm sorry, we have a motion and an amendment.
Right.
Do we have
We need to second the
a
amendment.
second? Second the amendment.
We need to second
and then
the
go back.
amendment and then approve the amendment, and then it needs to come back for the full second of the motion with the amendment, and then we vote on that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Angela is seconding the amendment.
It's the original motion.
All right, then we need a second to the motion.
No, now we vote to approve the amendment.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're right.
That's why I'm here.
All in favor
I
of
drank coffee.
the amendment to the motion
Yeah, please do.
to add the language?
Aye.
Now we need a second to the original motion with the amendment.
I would second that.
Okay, Andy?
She's gonna call me. We got it.
I'm getting it.
No. Cheyenne's already said, I'll call you tomorrow.
All right, we have a second on the original motion. Is there any further discussion?
If I may, sorry, not to interrupt, I will add, section 7.3 does have the appropriation clause in it.
Good.
So I did find it, so it does exist in there. I know that was an outstanding discussion. I wanted to say, I swear I read it, and I did, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just a comment. Thank God we're here. Appreciate it. Let's get going on this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you so much, council. Thank you, Brett, for helping us
Yep.
get this far down the agreement. We are pretty stoked about it.
Call me, email me, we'll get going.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, y'all, good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Angela and Andy, for doing the pre-work to reach
reaching out, finding the contractor, learning about this and making sure this was the right recommendation to make to council. So thanks for taking on that project. Item 5D, presentation and discussion by EDCA and EDC presidents, outline of project scope. I don't know which
Justin,
or
go
both?
ahead. I mean,
Okay.
we only need one presentation at this point.
So, presentation would be
Kind of an update.
auditory, it's more of an update to what the meeting was, the intent of it, between the two EDC boards. It was a meeting to look at the CPAC, discuss with potential contractors to move forward for a plan on the areas in the not necessarily zoning. It was taking the CPAC, turning it into a plan. Right now, technically, one say it's more of an idea or a dream. For it to be a plan, we need dates, outlines. What order do we need to go in? How do we want to move forward? What can we do to move forward? What are the right tools? What are the right things that we need to do to move forward how everybody intended it during the CPAC meeting? We talked with the individual contractor who does this, who's known. We've called other cities to see how he worked, and this was just to get his opinion, his ideas. What do we need to do? From that, we've came up with and sat down with both boards together to look at this project of outlining everything. Through the outlining, we decided that we needed a more defined plan on how we want it to go through, how we want it to be in order, what kind of timelines are real. And until we get that portion, at this time, he was saying he doesn't need a contract. He will help us line that out first before we get into anything where we have to have any money spent whatsoever. The whole plan is to take the CPAC that everybody spent a lot of time on in the community and actually move this forward and create a plan for it. At this point, we're still going through that, how to make it into a plan. And that's really all that our meeting was for. If there's any questions on it, you're welcome to reach out to me personally.
So,
I appreciate it. So it was basically developing a framework, so then
For the project.
decisions could be made about what project.
So that the two boards can look at what they can do. What do we need to be planning for the future? I mean, future planning and you don't do it the day of, and, we need to do this tomorrow. We're looking at 5, 10, 15 years, we're growing. What can we start planning? What can we start getting behind? What do we need to do to bring businesses in? How can we bring businesses? Without a plan, we can't. The boards can't do that. There's nothing that we can really do. So this is moving forward and trying to be proactive hand in hand with the zoning, with the other projects, putting a plan together to be able to move this forward.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
And
No, it's good.
sounds like a good idea to me. Except that, we're gonna be doing a lot of help for you, right, by doing the zoning.
The zoning wasn't the
You see, it's still separate.
The zoning is a step. So we've got zoning, we've got maps to do, we've got layout plans, we got budgets we need to look at for staff. So as things grow, and we know we've got a 21 agreement, as that grows and those costs come into the city that we've got to pay for, are we planning for that stuff in the future?
Well,
Do
I'm
we have
sorry,
a plan?
who are you talking of, EDC A and B or the city?
For both the EDCs, what can we do? What is the plan forward?
They also, from what I understood from Justin, is that then that plan goes,
To the city.
pieces or parts, or all of it could go to city council. So decisions could be made about, hey, this would be important for the city
Yeah.
to work on, this is important for EDCA to work on. Today, there's not a cohesive, long-term plan so that each division can do
And all of this.
choose what they work on next. Sorry.
Yeah, all of this comes to the city. There's no intent for the board to decide, or they don't have the authority for that. This is all bringing information, collecting data, similar to how you did with the cameras and everything. This is a group coming together to bring information so we can move forward.
So I think it's excellent, and the reason why I think it's excellent is, honestly, EDC's A's and B's have basically struggled, or you went idle for a while and all, and you two are trying to bring it back as an active participant group to do the job that you're supposed to do, and that part of that job is to look and see and bring things back to the council, so I applaud y'all. Good.
Thank you, man, for being a leader. Appreciate it. You too.
All right, thank you very much.
Great, Steve.
Item 6 is executive session. We do not need to go into executive, so we're going to jump to item 9, reports. I think we're given a pretty long list of information today. I don't have any separate reports to deliver. Bill, do you have anything?
I hope not, Mayor.
Cheyenne?
Not right now.
All right, Ms. Kelly, KSB? Anyone?
No.
Okay. That brings us to
Well, I'm
city
sorry.
council. Do any council members
Oh,
have
I'm
a
sorry,
report?
yes, it is. I thought you were asking the council.
I was asking her about KSB.
Oh, sorry.
Did you have a report?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I'd like to first give a status on the AV project that I've been running and say that it came very close to being prepared for tonight, except one of the two bidders, when I asked them what I felt was very, very probing questions on their technology and how it would work, functionalities, one of them answered rapidly, the other one did not. I don't want to mention two names now, shouldn't. But they did not. I got the answers from the second person yesterday. So I need to take that and integrate it back. I already have prepared not only a Rubik's, I've prepared a side-by-side comparison. I went back and did what you asked me, what the first original 20,000 bid is and how it's changed by that company. I have that formatted out. Everything is done pretty much. As soon as I get those final questions done, I expect to have it, if you would, added to the agenda next month for me to bring that to council. Now, what I'm going to bring to council is all the information, all the analysis. I'm not making a decision. I'm going to bring it to council, and if you post it as review and propose whatever, if they want to do that, right? And then in advance, I expect to send all this information through the mayor to the council and ask for you to review it so that when we come to the meeting, you might be able to take action if you so choose. It's very straightforward information if you look at the analysis, and if you have questions, I'll also ask you to send them back to the mayor or for her to give me to have the questions answered so that everybody's getting the same information all the time. All right, that's on that. Now, in addition, I wanted to ask if the auditor has given us a date for the audit, because we're getting close.
We already have work going on with them. I don't have an updated deliverable date, but we haven't had any change in original plan.
Okay? And,
If that gives you your answer.
no, not really.
They're working with
because
us
it didn't
now.
give you a
We're
date,
exchanging
right.
information, we're filling out, we're providing, they're already doing testing, some of the protocols that are part of it, so
Good.
it's ongoing right now.
I only asked because March is coming around, right? We know. I also would like to ask that we have a fiscal year 2025 budget versus actual produced. We haven't seen fiscal year 2025 budget versus actual.
All right.
And a quarterly report, current year. We're past the first quarter, and we should have a quarterly report which encompass what it used to encompass, which we talked about, Mary, that was kind of somewhat detailed and a little bit of work having to be put into it. But it has all the CDR information we need. It has the review dates. This is a very good report, as far as I'm concerned, for the council to have. And so if we could get that produced for it, would appreciate that. And I guess we could add those things on to unfinished business maybe, or something. I don't know, unless you can just put it on the agenda. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other reports? All right. Thank you, everybody. I have 8:21, and we will adjourn.